There was actually a time when I was terrified of roller coasters and theme park rides. Scared to death. Here's how Knott's Berry Farm helped me get over that. Way back when I was really young, I was scared of most rides at theme parks, especially bigger ones, large roller coasters, anything that had a drop, anything that looked like it could have gone upside down. Scared me to death. When we go to Marriott's Great America in Santa Clara as a kid, a lot of the big rides scared me. I would ride the log flume and Willard's Wizard, but it was as much because my parents were really kind of half making me go on it and because it was easier to go than face the humiliation of being too scared. But Willard's Wizard and the log flume really weren't that big a ride. But they scared me, let alone anything bigger. In my young child's mind, those things were terrifying. I was convinced that I was going to die, or they just weren't fun to me. Didn't like them at all. I'd ride them with my eyes closed and hope nothing happened, and just didn't like it. Then when I was somewhere around 9 or 10 years old, my family finally decided to take our very first vacation down to Southern California. My sister was finally old enough to understand and be able to enjoy things. She was 4 years younger than I was, and they had been waiting for her to get to an age where she could enjoy Disneyland and other places. My little sister at the time wasn't afraid of anything. If there was a ride, she'd go on it. And then, of course, there was me, Mr. Scaredy Cat. We went to Disneyland, had a great time. I don't remember a whole lot about that first visit to Disneyland, except sleeping in the car on the way down. And I remember having to run to keep pace with my dad, who was going every place, every ride. And in one day at the time, we managed to do every single ride at Disneyland. Yeah, that's the kind of pace we used to set. Don't remember much else about that trip to Disneyland, but I do remember the one that we took to Knott's Berry Farm. Knott's Berry Farm is just a few miles down the road from Disneyland. If you're not familiar with Knott's, it actually started in the boysenberry fields of Knott's Berry Farm. Yes, they actually are the ones who created the boysenberry, so if you like boysenberry jam, it's from Knott's originally. As part of the farm, Mrs. Knott built a restaurant out there that served fried chicken, and this restaurant became hugely popular. So much so that they would actually have people waiting for hours to eat at it. So they decided, instead of having people just sit out there with nothing to do, that they built kind of a ghost town, old Western style town, to entertain people while they were waiting to eat. And the whole theme park gradually grew out of that. It's not a real big theme park. It's a few city blocks big, but there's a lot crammed into the little space. Knott's has some great rides. Accelerator is absolutely awesome. A lot of people are familiar with Top Thrill Dragster and King to Ka, but if Accelerator had never happened, you wouldn't have had either one of those. It's its older, smaller sister, if you will, that they learned a lot of what they did on that to make the other two work. I remember great memories of the Timber Mountain Log Ride, which is a classic ride, the Calico Mine Train, riding on their regular steam train at the park. I actually got to ride the Galloping Goose, which is a classic engine, just a really neat engine by itself. And my memories even go all the way back to the Wacky Soapbox Racers, which were these single rail roller coasters. Not a big, huge ride, but they had 4 of them side by side. And so your family would kind of sit in one and you have other people and you would race each other. They were a ton of fun. Still wish they had those. For those of you in Europe, it was almost like a steeplechase. It was the same kind of idea. Classic ride that's not there anymore. A lot of great memories over the years. In fact, there was a time when I was youth pastoring down in Southern California, and we had taken our group of teenagers to Knott's for a big outing. I don't even remember exactly if it was a special event, a concert, or if we just took them for fun. And while we were there, we all went on this ride called the Boomerang. Boomerang was a fairly large roller coaster that would pull you back up a hill, and then it would let you go down through this weird little corkscrew, a boomerang essentially, take you back out the other way through another loop, back up, and then you would go backwards and do it all again. My whole youth group got in line for this, and we all get on the train together at the back of the train. I'm in the back row or pretty close to it. And as it pulls us back up to the top, right as it releases us, I yelled out, "We're all gonna die!" And right as we hit the station, you can hear the whole half train, at least in front of me, all yell at the same time, "Shut up, George!" Ride operators are standing there laughing as we cruise by and go through the line. Just a lot of fun. Now that same spot where Boomerang was, and they actually just closed it for something new they're going to put in, there originally was another ride there called the Corkscrew. Now the Corkscrew was actually the very first modern day inverting coaster. It was the first one that went upside down since the days of the turn of the century at Coney Island. Big new invention. And for a lot of people, it was kind of scary. In fact, the next one that opened up that went upside down was actually Revolution in Magic Mountain a year later. Corkscrew was the very first. And here we are on my vacation when I'm 9, 10 years old and I'm scared of everything. And my family decides that they're going to ride the Corkscrew. And I'm looking at that going, Again, little sister who is 5, 6 years old is going, "Yes, go." She's all gung-ho for it, and I'm not. My family decides this isn't a place we get to go very often. They're going to ride the Corkscrew. And my little cowardice stuff, well, too bad. Being fairly nice parents, they give me an option and a choice. I can either ride the coaster with them, or I can sit on a bench that's right near the entrance and wait for them to get back. I'm not riding that thing. I'll wait. And so I go over and I sit down at the bench and I wait. And they all get in line and all excited to go. And I wait. And I wait. And I start looking around. And this is kind of scary out here because I don't know anybody. And there's all these strangers. And, well, that's okay. I'll wait because I'm not riding that scary thing. It's terrifying. And, wow, look at all these people. And if something happened to me, would anybody know? And this is kind of lonely. And, yeah, well, that's still scary. But, ooh, this is getting scarier too. And I just continually talk to myself this way. I'm sure people walking by thought I was some really weird kid. And just getting myself more and more scared of waiting. After a little while, for me it felt like hours. It was probably about 15 minutes. I decided, you know what? It's a whole lot scarier sitting here waiting for them than it is to go on this roller coaster. I'll go brave the roller coaster. And so I ran up, managed to find them in the mob of the crowd and get in line with them, rode the Corkscrew. Little chicken me, who was terrified of everything, rode a roller coaster that went upside down not just once, but twice. I can still remember the terrifying fears. I buckled in, pulled down the shoulder restraint, headed up the hill. I was so scared I didn't dare close my eyes. Now, there's this weird thing. A lot of people, when they're scared of a ride, they will close their eyes. I'll give you a big hint. I actually close my eyes if I want to experience something new or scarier because you can't see what's happening. If you're terrified of a roller coaster and you're closing your eyes, open your eyes up. It's not so scary that way. And you can see what's coming up. I rode this time because I was so scared I actually had my eyes open and watched the whole ride, came off and went, that was it? That was all? I was scared of that? I was terrified of that? Really? That was fun. That was cool. That was awesome. Can we do it again? And that one moment of riding the roller coaster that I was terrified of and realizing that I wasn't going to fall out, it wasn't going to break apart, it wasn't going to explode, I wasn't going to die, man, that was awesome. We didn't ride it again that day because we had other stuff to do and limited time to do it. But that one moment really is when I suddenly went from being a chicken to loving everything. And there really isn't a roller coaster since that I've turned away from. So Knott's Berry Farm, in a lot of ways, I give credit to starting my love of theme parks and roller coasters. That roller coaster they took out a long time ago, I want to say back in like 1988, 89, somewhere around there. But it still exists. It's actually sitting at Silverwood Park up in Idaho now. Now, I have not been to Silverwood. I would love to get there sometime, especially to be able to ride the old Corkscrew just for nostalgia's sake. I did get to ride a couple others. Busch Gardens had one that when we first moved to Florida called Python. It's also not there anymore. And that was a lot of fun. Again, reliving a lot of memories with that and trying to explain to my kids, this kind of ride used to have your dad terrified. And my kids look at me going, okay, it's a little rough now, Dad, but really? You were scared of that? Yep. And then I actually got to ride another one down in Columbia, South America, the country Colombia, at a little park called Salitre Mágico. But that's what started the addiction, was a single ride on a roller coaster at Knott's Berry Farm. And now, over 30 years later, I'm at around 260 roller coasters that I've been on. So thank you, Knott's. Thank you to the Aero Company for building Corkscrew at the time. And thank you to my parents for being so encouraging and not shoving me into something I wasn't ready, but letting me come do it myself. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little story of my past and got a kick out of it. Don't forget to like and share the video. Comment for me on what was your scariest moment on a ride or something that helped you conquer your fear. Or maybe if you're still scared of coasters, what's keeping you afraid of them and from riding? I would love to hear your stories as well.